There is a demon inside of me, and I knew that one day it would come out. I didn't hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. I knew I would be put away, but I just didn't think it would all happen so quickly. I wanted a fresh start. I feel no remorse. I'm not sorry. That's why I left the phone. I wanted to get caught. There is a demon inside of me, and I knew that one day it would come out. Did you see the stars tonight? Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Thank you if you have got in touch with your thoughts on Luca Magnotta, that episode, or sleepwalking. So many crazy stories of sleepwalking and weird things that people do when they sleep. So thank you for that. Okay, yeah, this episode, well, we're gonna meet someone who has quite the story for someone so young. Before we get there, just gonna do a few quick shout outs and then we'll get to the story. Alright, hello to Venya Brechen. I hope it's Brechen, could be Brechen. Thank you, Venya, for getting in touch with the story. This next one, I love this one because so Amanda got in touch with me to say that her daughter has a name which lots of American people seem to have trouble saying this name correctly, and she said, could you just say it properly so that she can actually hear that it's not a bad name, it's actually a nice name, it's just that a lot of people won't say it correctly. And the name is Moira. So, hello to Moira Rose Adams. Moira, I think your name is lovely. Moira's 14, so, hello. How you doing? Next, hello, John Yanni Lantitos. Again, I do love this challenge that I get set where it's like, I've got a really difficult surname, best of luck saying it. So, I actually don't think the surname's Lantitos. I think it might be John Yanni Lantito. Anyway, that's my best attempt at it. Joe McRoberts, who today has a birthday. Happy birthday, Joe. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely time to yourself today. Olivia Ward, hello. Thanks so much, Olivia, for your support. And lastly, Lucy Kubiak. Hello, Lucy. Alright, that's it for the shout outs. So, thank you, as always, for getting in touch. Alright, are you ready? Let's get to this crazy story. You ready? Okay, let's go. In November 2013, a woman in Pennsylvania walked out into her backyard innocently one morning to discover a dead body in her backyard. The body hadn't been buried. The body had just been dumped. The body was that of Troy LaFerrera, a 42-year-old man from the local area. Troy LaFerrera had been stabbed 22 times all over his body. Police are called. They search the backyard, and Troy's body is taken away for examination. Okay, so that poor woman, what a terrible shock that must have been. Oh my God, that must have been fucking horrible. It's been absolutely terrible. Imagine that, you just walk out your back door in the morning and that's what you find. But also, 22 stab wounds to a body. Now, just to give you a visual picture, because this is quite important, and it will become really important in the story. Just to give you a picture of Troy LaFerrera, he was a big guy. When I say that, I mean like he was tall, he carried some weight, and he was like really broad in his chest. So that body had 22 stab wounds in it. That says immediately to police, this is a very serious murder. This isn't someone has gotten into a fight with someone, stabbed them a couple of times and run away. This is someone wanted that body dead. Like, they wanted that body dead. So, it's visibly, clearly a murder straight away. They can identify Troy because he still has his phone with him. Has his phone. Doesn't have his wallet. His wallet's gone. But the phone is still there. So, once his body is taken away, his wife is called. And immediately the questions to the wife, of course, straight away are, did he have any enemies? Do you know of anyone who would want to do this to Troy? And she is utterly shocked. Because Troy was a good family man. He loved his wife. He worked hard. There would be no reason for anyone to take this man and kill him in this brutal a fashion. So what do police have to work with? Well, all that they really have is the phone. Troy's phone is all that they have. So they go through it and they find that the last call and the last messages were from Troy to a woman called Miranda Barbour. So who is Miranda Barbour? Well, she's someone who lives not too far away from Troy. And she is an 18-year-old girl. Miranda is 18 and she has a 2-year-old baby. And she lives with her husband, Elliot. Elliot's 21. Miranda's 18. So police are looking at this situation and thinking, okay, so she was the last number that he called and the last text message. Okay. Let's just, let's bring her in for a chat. Let's just see what she has to say. So they knock on her door. They ask her, okay, can you come down to the police station? And she says, yeah, no problem. She's quite calm, she's quite casual. She's like, yep, okay, fine. I'll come down, have a chat. So police, they bring her in. And they say, okay, we've found this body. You were the last number he called. Did you have any contact with Troy? And she says, yes. Yes, I did. Okay, how did that come about then? How did it come about that you knew Troy? Well, she explains that it was through an advert he had placed on Craigslist. Is that how you say it? Craigslist? Craigslist is an American thing. We don't have it in the UK, so I never know if I'm quite saying it correctly. Craigslist. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so what did his advert say? Is what police ask. She says It was indicating that Troy was willing to pay for a female for company. Now, police go right to the heart of the matter. They ask, right, well, Miranda, when you say company, what are you talking about? Are you talking about sex, or are you talking about taking you to the theatre or a casino? Which was it? Explain what you mean. She says, yes, it implied sex, but I wasn't meeting him for that. I had no intention of sleeping with him. I was just there to provide company. Okay. She clearly knew what the advert was looking for. And now she's saying, but I definitely wasn't going there for sex. It was just to provide company. It was a bit odd. It's a bit like if I put up an advert saying, okay, so I'm selling this Hoover. No, I'm not selling a Hoover. But say I was, right? Or I'm selling this Hoover, and I go on one of these like Craigslist, Gumtree, trade sites, whatever. And then someone contacts me and says, yeah, I'm actually not looking for a Hoover, but I am still interested. Well, that doesn't make any fucking sense at all. So, not quite sure I believe Miranda. Now, it turns out that, yeah, Troy was married. He'd been married for many years, but he was living a bit of a double life. Police went through his phone, his computer, and oh god, it must have just been horrible for his wife. But they discovered at this point that he was a member of lots of different dating sites, companionship sites, and that putting adverts on Craigslist looking to meet women for sex was something that Troy did a lot. So, in amongst this process, he sent out lots of messages to lots of different people, and it just happens one of them is Miranda Barbour, 18 years old, and they've connected. Now, at this point in the interview, and this is going to become really important in the story, Miranda is actually quite calm to start with. So when police are asking her, did you know Troy? And she says yes. And they ask about the Craigslist advert. She's fairly calm. But when she says, well, I knew he was looking for sex, but it's not what I was going there for, they start to up their questions ever so slightly. They start to sort of indicate that they don't really believe that that's true, that she knew exactly what Troy was looking for. And what's important here is she starts to get her back up quite quickly. She goes from sitting quite calmly, and all of a sudden she gets just, little bit more agitated. She's becoming a little bit more animated, and her voice is getting a little bit louder. So what's the police view of Miranda at this moment? I think they're probably looking at her and thinking, she's young. She actually seems like quite a nice person. She was quite calm and quite quiet when she came in. She doesn't look like someone who necessarily has an awful lot of money. And maybe she just feels a bit under pressure in this situation because, a police interrogation, I imagine, puts anyone under pressure. So they're like, okay, she's getting her back up slightly, but we'll keep going. They remind her, yeah, you were the last call in his phone. And she says, yeah, I know. And they say, okay, well, that indicates to us that you possibly know something about this murder. They ask her outright, are you involved? She says, no. And now her back is really up. She's actually up out of her seat and she's getting really agitated. And she says, right, okay, look, I need to get home. I've got a 2-year-old. I need to get home to my 2-year-old. And I love this. Sassy police officer who's interviewing her, she says, look, I need to go home to my 2-year-old. And the officer says, yeah, and with all due respect, we need to find the murderer. I love that. But by now, she is getting pissed off. And when they say to her, right, look, okay, we're going to have to take your mobile phone off you, she says, no, absolutely no way are you taking my phone from me. And by now, she's gone in like 5 minutes from being calm, and now she's angry. She is pissed off, seriously pissed off. She says, no, you're not having my phone. I'm walking out of here right now. And then she adds, I'm very offended right now. Offended sits oddly with me as a word to use in this situation. But she starts saying, I've never met this man. I don't know who this guy is. I couldn't even tell you what he looks like. And I'm very offended right now. She starts shouting at the police, I'm going home. I'm going home to my child. And by now, the levels in her are so up, it starts to look like it might turn violent. Honestly, it's almost like, okay, maybe we need to restrain Miranda at this point. And that has been such a quick journey from calm to almost possibly needing to be restrained. So she, at this point, shouting at police, storms out of the police station. She just leaves, takes everything with her, and she goes. So, what's the police view now? Very quickly, they're thinking, all right, Miranda Barbour needs watched. But, police are also thinking, if she's this agitated right now in this moment, are we going to get much out of her? Well, probably not. So, they decide to take a different tact. They go to Miranda's house, not long after she's stormed out of the station like a diva, and they ask to speak to Elliot Barbour. Elliot's her 21-year-old husband. They say to Elliot, look, can you come with us? We just want to have a wee chat with you about Miranda down at the station, if that's okay. And he says, yeah, okay, fine. I'll come, I'll talk to you. So Elliot, he's 21 years old, very much a sort of student-looking type. He's a bit kind of dishevelled, a bit sort of stubbly, constantly kind of looks like he's just stumbled out of his bed, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? He's got that kind of look about him. So again, Elliot's calm. He's really calm. He comes to the police station and they say, Elliot, do you know why your wife Miranda would have the dead man's phone number in the first place? And he says, to clarify, he says, I don't know Troy. I've never met him. He says, but sometimes Miranda, to make money, will meet with men who pay for companionship. Okay. Each to their own. I'm not judging. I'm not being a judging Jennifer. Why would I be a Jennifer? I'm not being a judging Jim. Just, that's maybe their marriage. Maybe Elliot is okay with Miranda meeting men for companionship. He's very quick to say to police, she doesn't have sex with them. I mean, she doesn't have sex. He then goes on, when he's describing her, to call her a whore in this process. And then immediately goes, oh, no, sorry, I shouldn't have called her a whore. That's a terrible word. She's just a companion. Police drop a bomb here on Elliot. They say, your wife is telling us that she has never met Troy LaFerrera. And we know that she met him 2 weeks ago. And it was on the night of your birthday. And he is really surprised. They say, when she told you that she had different errands to run and different things to do, she was actually meeting with Troy that night for sex, for money. Elliot's response is, and I'm quoting, well, that's fucked up. Guess I'll be having a long discussion when I get home. So guess who comes storming back into the police station at this point? It's Miranda. She wants Elliot home. She is very, very uncomfortable with police talking to her husband, Elliot. Just remember that detail. Just remember how uncomfortable she is with police talking to him. Now, I don't want to do Elliot, right, a disservice here, but he's not he's not necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed. He's one apple short of a basket. No, that's not the phrase, but something like that. Do you know what I mean? He's not quite not the sharpest guy out there. Maybe that's why Miranda didn't really like him talking to police, because she thought, what's this idiot gonna say? So back at home, Miranda and Elliot have both now been spoken to by police. Let's just for 2 wee seconds talk about what their living situation was. When they had moved to Pennsylvania, one of Elliot's very, very, very good friends lived there. A lovely girl called Shay. And what Shay had done was she had opened up her home to Miranda, to Elliot, and to their 2-year-old. And so the 4 of them lived in this house all together. And it was a perfectly harmonious situation. The 4 of them had a really nice time living together. So they're in this house on that evening. It's hours after the police interviews. They're all sitting in the living room. The baby's asleep. Miranda, Elliot and Shay, they're having a drink. And Shay says, I cannot believe that police would think that, Miranda, you knew anything about this situation, about this murder. Miranda Barbour at this point turns to her roommate, Shay, her husband, and she says, oh, but I do know about it. I did it. I killed him. Okay. Complete shock. A real life what the actual fuck moment. So what does Shay and Elliot do? Shay says, you have got to go to police, and you've got to go now. You have got to go to police now. Miranda agrees. So they get in the car, and it's now 6 a.m. Shay drives Miranda, Elliot, and the baby to the police station. Miranda says a long goodbye to her husband Elliot and to her child, and she goes in to talk to police. So police are told Miranda Barbour has voluntarily walked back into the station. They sit her down, and what does she have to say for herself? Well, this. She says, I lied before. I do know him. I met him on the night that he was murdered. She goes on to say that she picked him up in her car, and that once he was in the car, he tried to attack her. So police say, okay, what happened? Describe it to us. So Miranda says that Troy got in the car, and that once they'd begun driving just a little distance, he grabbed her throat with one hand, and with the other he grabbed her vagina. She says at that moment that she thought she was going to be raped by Troy. She tells police, I have 3 knives in my car. Is that normal? Is it normal to have 3 knives in your car? I don't know if I think that's maybe a bit many. Anyway, she says, I have 3 knives in my car. I grabbed one when he started to attack me and I stabbed him. Alright, okay, so self-defense. So what are police thinking now? Well, they're thinking, and obviously, you know, they're going to take the assault accusation seriously, but they also have a massive question mark over the fact that there were 22 stab wounds. Because police think, I mean, that's different from being, I'm being attacked, I need to inflict a couple of stab wounds and then get myself the fuck out of this situation. You know, those amount of stab wounds, they say something different. And here's the other thing as well. Do you remember I said to you earlier on about what Troy looked like? He was a big guy. I mean, he was huge. Miranda is small. She's very petite. You know, she's 18 years old. And so police are kind of asking, well, why at that point would you not have just stabbed him a couple of times, given him enough of an injury that you could stop the car, get out and run? Why would you not do that? Why would you continue to stab to that level? She doesn't really have an answer for that. She just says that she felt like she was just so in danger at that moment. So Miranda Barbour is arrested for the murder of Troy LaFerrera. Because as much as police are listening to this, he was trying to attack me story, something in it's just not quite adding up for them. They're not quite buying it entirely. Elliot, he immediately goes on TV and he talks the self-defense thing. He says, this is the truth. She's telling you the truth. This guy tried to attack her. She stabbed him. This is the truth. Police, they're not done with Elliot at this point. Because what's starting to happen is they're starting to just get this idea with Miranda where there's just lots of lies here. There's just lots of lies, and we need a clearer picture, but I think we're going to get a better, clearer picture from someone else. And like I said earlier on, Elliot's not necessarily the smartest guy in the world, so police are probably at this point thinking, do you know what? Ask him enough questions, he'll reveal enough information. So he voluntarily goes to chat with police. He's quite happy to sit down. And they start asking him lots of questions about Miranda. What's she like as a person? Did she tell you that this had happened? You know, all these sort of questions. And he starts to, much in the way that she did in her first interview, he starts to get a bit rattled. He starts to get a bit agitated in the police interview. Why? Is there something that Elliot's not telling us? What is Elliot about to tell police? Elliot's about to change the course of this whole story. He says Miranda arranged to meet Troy and that he knew all about this. Elliot describes exactly what happens in the car. They had planned it together. So this is what happened. Miranda is driving the car, and in the back seat, Elliot is hidden under a blanket. When Troy gets into the passenger seat, they begin to drive. When Miranda says the key words, "Did you see the stars tonight?" Elliot comes out from under the blanket. He takes a piece of cord that he has in his hand, and from behind Troy, he puts it over his face and he pulls it round his neck. Elliot starts describing to police with glee how he choked Troy while Miranda began to stab him. So he describes that he's holding on to this piece of cord around Troy's neck and the life is going out of Troy at this moment, and Miranda is stabbing Troy's body for all that she's worth. Why? Police ask. Why did you do this? What was the reason? Elliot says, we just decided we wanted to kill, just to see what it was like. We just wondered what it would be like to commit a murder together. Oh, sick bastards. Police ask, do you have any remorse? Elliot, no. So, Troy's dead in the car. Police ask, well, what did you do next? He says, well, we took the body and we basically just found a street somewhere where there was a backyard. No one was about. It was nice and quiet. And we just chucked his body in the backyard. Then what did you do next? Police ask. Well, they went to a late night store. They bought some bleach. They bought some cleaning materials. They cleaned the car. And then we went for food. Fucking hell. They sat in a burger joint until like 5 a.m. eating a burger. These two, honestly. Oh. So police now have a really clear picture. I mean, it's a shitty, terrible picture, but at least they have it. And Elliot is arrested. So it's now, being called the thrill kill, the thrill killers. So you're getting all these images of Miranda and Elliot, this 18-year-old, this 21-year-old who decided to just take down a man by, luring him into a car, killing him. In this, both Miranda and Elliot could be facing the death penalty. And indeed, that's what they were facing. So now, what people want to know is, they want to know a lot about Miranda. Because it feels like a little bit like Elliot was kind of putting himself out there. And I don't know with Elliot that there's a great deal to try and understand. He's pretty clear to read. Miranda, not so much. She's a little bit trickier. There's a lot of questions about Miranda's motivation, about her life, and people who knew her, people in her family, they're all willing to talk. They're all willing to offer up information about Miranda. And so the digging into what has made Miranda such a troubled 18-year-old begins. And because it's a funny juncture in the story, because we know that Miranda and Elliot are guilty of the murder, it would feel in some ways like the story should be over, but it's not. It's about to take some very shocking turns, and we know I bloody love a shocking turn in a story. One of the things that happens is Miranda's diaries start to appear. Diaries that she'd written 3-4 years earlier. And in these diaries, she describes in detail the self-harm that was happening at that moment. She was cutting herself. She was cutting herself for release. She was cutting herself for control. She describes having scars all over her body. As well as this, she details in her diaries the drugs that she was on at that moment. And quite frankly, there's not a drug out there that she says she wasn't taking. Meth, crack, cocaine, alcohol, everything. She basically does this big long list of every drug under the sun that she's saying that she was on at age 14. What also comes to light is that Miranda had spent years in and out, from about the age of about 12, in and out of a mental health facility. And the reason that she was there was an attempt to deal with her depression, her potential bipolar disorder, her addictions, her suicide attempts, and her potential schizophrenia. So that's a lot. That's a lot for someone to have been through by age 18. But is it true? And within all that, what about sex? Well, she's clear in the diaries that from age 14, she was sleeping with older men in exchange for money. So does any of that, all of that, does it explain the murder of Troy LaFerrera? No. No, I don't think it does. I don't think it does. I don't think you can isolate what someone has been through or says they've been through and not look at it. You have to, you sort of have to, it has to play a picture in the story. I'm just saying, it's not as if with Miranda Barbour, these things had gone undiagnosed, or, you know, if the incredible long list of all the mental health things that she was dealing with were completely 100% true, then she would A, have to be on a fuckload of medication, and B, would have to be being observed closely, and neither of those things were happening. So the big kind of swirling fascination around Miranda continues. Even, you know, Elliot's at this point talking to journalists about his wife. He tells them, I love this, he tells them that when they met, he thought this exactly. She is one crazy bitch, but I love her. Okay? He has also had some problems in his childhood. He talks about developing a crack addiction at age 16, but by the time he met Miranda, he had got over that addiction. Again, they just keep trying to, in interviews, get Elliot to show some remorse, say he's sorry for the murder of Troy, and he just doesn't. He just keeps saying, no, I've got no remorse. Again, the question, well, why did you do it? What made the two of you that night decide that you were going to do it? He says, remember I said he wasn't very sharp? Well, yes, this is an example of that. He says, it was just a bit like trying something new. You know the way that, like, if a new flavour of popsicle comes out and you've never tried it, you think, oh, I really want to try that cherry popsicle. That was how we felt about murder. We just felt we wanted to try it. I have to say, I like when a new flavour of something comes out. I don't often think to myself, do you know what I've not tried? I've not tried luring someone into a car and stabbing them 22 times. And let's hope I never think that. So Miranda is silent during this whole time. She's becoming this figure of mystery, but she's going to break that by choice. And a lot of this story is to do with Miranda's choice. She makes the choice, no, I am going to speak to a journalist. So, a journalist gets sent into the prison to sit down for 1 hour with Miranda and tell her story. She starts at age 12 and she describes that she joined a Satanist gang at age 12. She says, I always felt there was a demon inside of me and that one day it would come out. She talks about having sex with older members of the Satanist gang from age 12, having sex with older men when she was 13, 14 who would pay her for sex. She gets onto the murder of Troy and she says this really interesting sentence where she says, I just knew I wanted to feel what it felt like to do that again. So the journalist pauses and says, Miranda, have you killed before? And she says, yes. He says, how many people? And she says, I don't know. I stopped counting when I got to 22. Alrighty then. Okay. Where, the journalist says, where have you killed these 22 people? She now just starts naming lots of different American states and places. She's like Texas, LA, Alaska, California, Florida, New York. She just starts listing all these places. Okay, how did you murder these 22 people? The journalist asks. Well, a variety of methods. Stabbing, shooting, strangling. Again, what you get from Miranda all the time is you get these long lists of things. You know, what are your mental health disorders? There's about 8 of them. Okay? Where have you killed these supposed 22 people? She names this huge long list of American states. How did you do it? Huge long list of methods of killing. She says that in the early days her Satanist group made her kill men. So it's at this point this journalist is sitting thinking, okay, what have I got in my hands here? Have I either got an 18-year-old complete liar on my hands, or am I actually sitting looking at one of the world's worst ever female serial killers? What have I got? She says something to this journalist which will become the soundbite. It'll become, the thing that like always makes its way onto the news and you hear it over and over again. She says, if you release me, I will do this again. So, okay. So she's given this interview. She's made this claim. And there's massive division. Is she lying? Is she not lying? Did she actually start killing people at age 12 years old and over a 6-year span kill 22 people? Or is it all entirely a work of fiction? Is it a part of her mental health conditions? Is, mental health conditions aside, is Miranda Barbour about to take a seat at the, what did I call Luca Magnotta? Wackadoodle. Is she about to take a fucking seat at the Wackadoodle table next to Luca Magnotta? Is this all about attention? Is this a desire to be known? Or is it true? Does she believe it? That's what's interesting for me. Does she believe this? She 100% is sticking to her story. So see, in the areas that she claims, and then there were a fucking lot of them, in the areas that she claims that she's killed, like for example in Alaska, Alaskan police bring up missing people's records from the age that Miranda says that she started killing. And yet there are missing people whose bodies have never been found, who could potentially have come into contact with where Miranda lived in Alaska. But they go from state to state, and really, you can find that anywhere. You can find a list of missing people whose bodies have never been found in any state. So actually, it just, it's tricky. It's not like she's going, well, I was in this particular place in Alaska, and I met this particular man, and this is how I killed him. That's not what's happening. She's just throwing out, it was Alaska. It was 2013. That's so vague. That's so big. Elliot sits down with police while he's, in prison, awaiting trial. And they say to him, do you believe this? Do you actually believe what Miranda says? And he says, yeah, I do. I fully believe her. And he says, she is possessed. He says, I can't even explain it to you. She is a possessed woman. He says she has this demon living inside of her. Now, this is the third time we've heard about this supposed demon that's living inside of Miranda Barbour. And this time it's coming from her husband. which says to me she's told him many times about the demon inside. He starts to kind of talk about her even more openly now, and he starts to talk about how he would sometimes call her Super Miranda. Okay. Why? Well, he says that during sex, she became Super Miranda. I mean, my first thought was, what, bit of role play? Is she putting on a superhero costume? Is she coming out with like an eye mask and like some like lycra and a cape, or, you know, Super Miranda? Is that what this is? Well, no. He talks about the satanic sex that they used to have. They would cut each other during sexual intercourse and have sex in the blood. They would take mind-bending amounts of drugs and have sex for hours. So more and more information is coming out, but did she honestly start killing people at 12 years old? Let's say no. FBI, that's just me, I'm saying no. FBI cannot find a single shred of evidence to link Miranda to anything she says she's done. One of the other bits of her earlier life before this incident starts to emerge, and it's about abuse. It's about abuse that Miranda suffered at age 13 at the hands of her uncle. So for a good maybe year, she went through sexual abuse from her uncle. And when the whole entire story came out in the family, she then discovered that her own mother had also been abused by her grandfather. So there is a family here dealing with years of historical and hidden sexual abuse. Again, it's a thorny as fuck question, but does any of that excuse luring Troy LaFerrera into a car, choking him and stabbing him 22 times? With Elliot, what else do we learn? Well, we learn that there was no abuse in Elliot's life, but he had taken drugs from a young age. Drugs had made him hallucinate an awful lot, and that he had possibly shown signs of schizophrenia from around the age of 5. So, I mean, if you're putting Elliot and Miranda together, that is never going to make a good combination. So it's now September 2014. Miranda and Elliot have been in prison for 10 months, and the murder trial arrives. Remember, they're facing the death penalty here. The thrill killers were about to have their day in court. Now, in court, everything that I've told you is brought up. It's all brought up for everyone to hear. The abuse, the satanic sex, the years of drug abuse, the years of mental health problems. Now, both Miranda and Elliot are pleading not guilty to the charge of first-degree murder. So, it looks like it's going to be the death penalty for the 18 and the 21-year-old. However, halfway through the case, both of them enter a guilty plea to second-degree murder, meaning that the death penalty is taken off the table. So now, with the charge changed to second-degree murder, they are both found guilty. Elliot apologises to Troy's wife in a statement that he reads in court. Miranda doesn't. Both Miranda and Elliot receive the same sentence, and that is life in prison without the chance of parole. So do you remember that journalist who visited her in prison? The one that she told about the 22 murders? Well, he gets a letter from Miranda now that she's locked up for life. And what does that letter say? In that letter, she explains that she feared that one day she would harm her daughter, and that she felt going to prison was the only way to avoid this. She says that if she had been left to just go around doing her own thing, left to her own devices in the world, she would have been a danger to her daughter, and the murder of Troy was a choice to get herself put away. And again, is this the truth? What are we getting here from Miranda? Or is she just at it again with the stories? Elliot hears the content of that letter and he is utterly shocked. He has no idea that his wife might have ever had a bigger plan. And now there's two final questions posed to Miranda when she's in prison. And these questions, they really try to offer up some answers about Miranda Barbour. Question 1. Why go through all of this? Why not put your daughter up for adoption? She says, I needed to be out of the picture entirely for her safety. And for anyone who knows me to ever have a good life, I needed to be not near them. Okay. The second question. Miranda, did you murder 22 people? And she says, no. So why say it? To show them that I'm not to be messed with. She says she felt attacked and cornered after her arrest. She says, I was treated like an animal in prison. And I just thought, if you're going to treat me like an animal, I'm going to show you what a fucking animal can do. So I lied. I lied to scare people. And so ends the story of Miranda Barbour. Okay then. Woo, what a story. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on Miranda, because this is such a big tangle of things. I'll tell you where I've got to with this, but please feel free to completely disagree with me or tell me I'm wrong. I think there's a grain of truth in everything that she said, but I don't think it's anywhere near the stories that she's telling. I think, yeah, there might have been a bit of a fucked up childhood. And yeah, possibly there was dabbling with drugs and the joining of silly gangs that she shouldn't have joined. And you know, I'm just saying that every single bit of the story she's trying to tell you is so exaggerated and so big. Yeah, so I think this whole thing is just, there's so many lies in there to be unravelled. It just also makes me feel sad that at 18 years old, you would kill someone. Either because you were seeking the thrill, or well, and it doesn't matter if you're 18, you shouldn't really kill anyone. But, you know, at 18, seeking the thrill, kill, as it were. I mean, I don't know. Is Miranda Barbour a seriously troubled human being? Is she an example of mental health services failing? Or is she actually just a cold-blooded 18-year-old who wanted to experience what a thrill kill was like? I don't know. You let me know what you think. Okay. And you will. And I will love it. And we will chat. Okay, so where in the world could you find Extraordinary Stories podcast if you were looking? Well, ask yourself that question no more. Because there's a little place called Facebook, and there happens to be a group, and it happens to be pretty fantastic. So get yourself over to the Facebook group. Also, Instagram. Also, Twitter. Also, you can email me, extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. Every time I do that email address, it gets faster and faster. If you've not heard it before, you're going to be like, what the fuck was that email address? It was so quick. Yes. So it's extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. Sounds like I'm doing those like terms and conditions thing under an advert, doesn't it? Alright, that's it for this episode. Get in touch, say hello, stay well, and until the midweek episode, thank you for listening. Okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.